Anthony moved with his family to an old house on the outskirts of the city. The house was huge, with curved staircases, long corridors, and creaky floors. From the first days, the boy felt that there was something unusual in this place. The air seemed colder than outside, and strange rustling sounds came from the dark corners. One day, while playing in his room, Anthony accidentally came across an unevenness in the floor. A wooden board was slightly raised, and his childish curiosity immediately got the better of him. He carefully lifted it, opening a secret place hidden under the floor. Inside lay antique things. The first thing he noticed were dolls. They were shabby, with faded faces and eyes that seemed too alive. Among the dolls lay a stack of old black and white photographs. The pictures depicted children standing in front of a house. They all looked straight into the camera, but their smiles seemed unnatural, forced. But that wasn't the strangest thing. At the bottom of the hiding place was a bundle of cloth with something sticking out that looked like long, dark hair. Anthony froze, his heart pounding. He pulled the edge of the cloth but immediately threw the bundle away, feeling a chill run down his arm. A weak wind blew from the depths of the hiding place, although all the windows in the house were closed. Anthony closed the hiding place, but from that moment on, the house began to behave differently. After Anthony opened the hiding place, the house became truly creepy. At night, the boy woke up from sounds that had not been there before. Strange scratching behind the walls, creaking floorboards as if someone was walking, and quiet whispers coming from the corners of his room. On the third day after the discovery, he noticed that the doors in the house began to live their own lives. One morning, his bedroom door slammed shut, although he was sure that he had left it open. Later, when he was playing in the living room, the front door slowly opened on its own, although there was an empty, windy yard behind it. The lights in the house began to flicker. The bulbs went out exactly when Anthony approached the corridors. And one day, the light in the nightlight in his room went out completely, leaving him in complete darkness. That was when he saw the first outline. It was in the evening when he was reading a book in his bed. A shadow suddenly fell in the corner of the room, which did not coincide with any of the objects. At first he thought it was a trick of the light, but the shadow began to move. It slowly stretched out, becoming longer and taller until it resembled a human figure. Anthony tried to scream, but his voice seemed to be stuck in his throat. The shadow did not move any further. It just stood there, as if watching him, and then disappeared into the darkness. The boy's parents began to notice that something was wrong in the house. One day, Anthony's mother, walking down the hall, saw the door to the boy's bedroom open by itself. In the crack, she swore that she saw something for a moment, a white face with empty eye sockets, which disappeared as soon as she came closer. But the worst thing was that at night, in absolute silence, quiet knocks began to be heard from under the floor where Anthony had found a hiding place, as if someone wanted to get out. Anthony began to notice that his dreams were different. At night, he would find himself in strange places, narrow, dark spaces surrounded by dusty wooden walls. He would dream of the dolls in the hiding place, their glass eyes watching him, and photographs of children whose faces now seemed eerily familiar to him. One day, while leafing through old books in the house library, he came across something that explained everything. On a yellowed page was written about an old ritual. Those who open the forbidden must repay the debt. The house requires new souls. Anthony felt a chill run down his spine. He realized that the things in the hiding place belonged to the children who had lived here before him. They were all part of this house, its past inhabitants, who had once also found the hiding place and opened it. That same evening, he decided to tell his parents about everything, but when he went down to the first floor, the house was strangely quiet. The lights flickered, the air grew heavy, and a figure appeared in the hallway, a shadow that looked like one of the children in the photographs. The shadow stood still, but its head slowly turned toward Anthony. A voice, quiet and hoarse, said, "Now you're here." Anthony tried to run, but his legs refused to obey him. The floor beneath him suddenly became soft like quicksand, and he felt himself being pulled down. The last thing he saw were the faces in the photographs that now surrounded him, staring at him with empty eyes. When his parents found Anthony's room, it was empty. Only his bed was neatly made, and on the floor lay an old doll with faded eyes. The hiding place was locked again, but now there was a new photograph in it. This picture was of Anthony, standing among the other children, all with forced, frightening smiles. He was part of the house now, its new story, like those who had come before him.